Connors, the kid from Canada, is at -9. Kraft -5. Paul Casey -4. Palmer -4. Snedeker -4. Tiger -4. Sergio's -2. Spieth shot a 71 today, and not a good round for Roy McIlroy. That is in the tennis. That is the golf. I apologize, in Tampa. All right, without to do on the baseball today, a couple of signings, and here is everybody. And listen, the guy's a great agent, but we have to be honest. Sometimes you overplay your hand, and you talk about a guy who overplayed his hand. How about Mike Moustakas? He, of course, the Royal third baseman who had 38 home runs in 2017, won a championship in 2016, got to a Game 7 World Series 2015. This guy's had some abilities, done some nice things, and he's had some good years. He was a high pick. He got sent back and forth to the minor leagues a couple of times. He seemed to find himself last year or two, and he was a free agent. Boris's client. They decided not to join in on the qualifying offer. Remember, if you take that qualifying offer, it's $17.5 million. If you accept it, which the Royals offered, and if you decline, and if you do accept it, well, then you get the $17.5 million, and you're there for another year. If you don't accept it, okay, fine, you're a free agent, and away we go. See, if you accept the qualifying offer and then you sign with another team, that team has to give the Royals some compensation. So whatever that used to, they changed it. It's a pick. It's a compensatory pick. It's a little different than it used to be. But the bottom line is, and there's pool money involved. He declined. He did not accept the qualifying offer. He declined it, and he went out there free agency. So if he got signed by anybody, there was no compensation to Kansas City. But then again, he gave up $17.5 million. All right, because then he's on the open market, and what happens? He bounces around. He bounces around. He bounces around. Here it is. It becomes a cold winter, November, December, January. Nobody gets signed, and some folks trickle in middle of February, whether it's Hosmer, Darvish, whatever the case. Some free agents get inked, and he's still sitting there, and nothing's going on. So it's March 8th, March 9th, and nobody wants him. He's in a spot right now where he finds himself in a tricky scenario, and he has to accept a 1 year, although there are some perks that he could get more. He has to accept basically a one year, $6.5 million contract. If he does certain things, he gets $15 million next year. But I mean, that is amazing. So here's a guy that was in a situation where you figured maybe he was, looking at a long-term, decent. I thought Atlanta. You thought maybe the Mets. You thought possibly down the road the Yankees on a 1-year deal. I mean, you thought maybe you got to a situation where you had an opportunity, if you were him, to get a decent contract. And as it turns out, he had to basically run back to Kansas City to get what he got. And it's not like you're walking into a good spot with the Royals, because the Royals lost Hosmer, the Royals lost Lorenzo Cain. So the Royals are sort of in a rebuild mode right now, where nobody necessarily thinks that the Royals are going to be necessarily competitive in the American League Central. That's a bad division, and it doesn't take much. I'll buy that. But, Moustakas saw his buddies leave, and Wade Davis is gone. I mean, Holland left. Kane leaves. He's sitting there. I mean, they got a shell of what they used to be, their team. And, Moustakas has to basically come back with a hat in hand selling pencils for $5.5, $6 million. That's what you call overplaying your hand. That is, Moustakas is a home run hitter. I don't know how he stacks up with the new analytics aspect of it. I don't know specifically what his walk ratio is and everything else. He's not a great base runner, and we know that. He's not fast. He did hit 38 bombs in a big ballpark, but I don't know what he stacks up. I haven't looked at his numbers that carefully, nor do I pay much attention to it. He's a good player. He's okay. He's pretty decent. Maybe he's coming into his own. He's got power, obviously, home run power. Bad on base percentage, which turns people off because he doesn't walk. What was it, less than 300, 290, something?
314, but he doesn't walk.
314, and he doesn't walk. So that turns people off, and Moustakas has got to run back to the Royals to sign a deal. And then I'm going to hear the players sit there and say that baseball, the owners are not being nice, and it's collusion, and it's this, that, and the other, and everything else. And I got to read Max Scherzer, who told USA Today this week that Max Scherzer, who doesn't know who Norma Ray is. And I got to hear Max Scherzer basically say and declare war on the owners that next year with Harper, Machado, Donaldson, maybe Kershaw, that if they don't get billions of dollars in offers, they'll be hell to pay. Who the hell is he? Be quiet. You got $210 million. Keep your mouth shut. This is a guy that has not responded for that franchise, Washington, in postseason play. He left after 6 innings 2 years ago. He left after 6 innings this year against the Cubs, and he came in against the Cubs in Game 5 and spit it up. But now I got to sit there and I got to listen to Max Scherzer basically read the people the riot act because he doesn't think they're being treated fairly. If you read the quotes today in USA Today, it was earlier in the week. Anyway, Moustakas $6.5 million. Not great. That is point number one. Point number two is sounds like Carlos González is going to re-sign with the Rockies. A 1-year deal for Carlos. Cargo had a very good September. Last year overall was not good. He hit like 257, but he's 31-something years of age, 32, not old. He's had some good seasons. Now, it's a ballpark that's easy to hit in, but he's been good in his career. We'll see how this works here with Cargo. The Rockies have spent money. See, unlike the Royals, Kansas City hasn't done anything in the offseason unless John Jay excites you. The Rockies, on the other hand, whether it be Brian Shaw, whether it be, obviously Shaw, you're talking necessarily about Davis. They've been out there and they've tried to do some things. So from that perspective, they have played pretty well. They've been into it. So, the Rockies going back there is not the worst thing, and that is where he's doing here. He's going back to Colorado, it sounds like, on a 1-year deal, and that gives them a little extra depth, and that gives them an opportunity to do some nice things. So good job out of Gonzalez. And the third item is, of course, San Diego, and we discussed this a little bit yesterday, and, maybe the Padres, dipping their toes into the deep end of the pool. That sounds like they at least are discussing Jake Arrieta with the aforementioned Boris. Arrieta has yet to sign. He's not getting $200 million from anybody. He's 32 years of age, and he's going the trend is downward, not upward. And, the Nationals we thought maybe, the Brewers we thought maybe, the Phillies we thought maybe, but right now it looks like Arrieta could be had, and maybe San Diego that spent $140 million on Hosmer, maybe they're looking to accelerate their resurgence in tough division. Everybody thought they were a year or two away, but maybe they feel that they can steal Arrieta on the cheap and put themselves in a situation where they can get Arrieta and maybe get him for a 2-year, 3-year deal, maybe an opt-out clause, and then he can sort of anchor that pitching staff. Don't forget that's a big ballpark, so it's a pitcher's park. So we see. So those 3 notes in baseball, but it just goes to show you if you don't play your cards right and you don't read the market right, and you have and you're an average player, and guys like Moustakas, not much, but he's an average player. He's not great. He's an average player, and you want to be paid as a superstar. Well, you know what? These players and teams and everything else, these guys are getting smart. These owners and general managers, and they are not going to overpay for players that they feel aren't worth it. And Moustakas learned that lesson the hard way. So Moustakas right now running back to Kansas City. Here he comes, surprise. They go down to Arizona, and that's he's not that good. So there you go. So Moustakas, Cargo, and Arrieta, and Max Scherzer, Samuel Gompers. That's where we stand here on a busy afternoon. 11 after the hour, your calls as soon as we return here on Mad Dog.